My name is Parsa Zahedi from the Social and Biological Analysis Laboratory at the University of Kurdistan. I'm a bachelor graduate. Actually, I graduated a few months ago, and I'm here to present our article called Retraction Citation Network Analysis of Iranian Computer Scientists, co-authored with Dr. Sadiq Soleimani, Associate Professor at University of Kurdistan. I want to start my introduction with an expression, which is a rotten apple will rot the whole crate. So it's important to note that if we have disinformation or bad information or misinformation in our circulation in scientific discourse, it's going to ruin the discourse and damage it in ways that we could have prevented easily. We know that some of these retracted articles, which are articles that are accepted and then retracted because of multiple reasons, plagiarism and other reasons, still receive citation long after they've been retracted. And in this article, we're focusing on Iranian computer scientists specifically, and we want to analyze the citation network of these retracted articles, see how this affects scientific discourse. By studying previous articles and research, we found that retracted articles receive citation long after they're gone. Actually, these references, which we can see right here, show that these retracted articles have received citation long after they're gone. And most of these previous research have focused on biomedical sciences or medical sciences. So computer science, which we decided is computer science, data science, and electrical engineering, is an uncharted territory and is underexplored. One of the previous researchers, Corby et al., examined Iranian retraction, but didn't look at the citation network. He didn't do a citation network analysis. Feng et al. And Banerjee also identified misconduct and editorial failure as the main cause of retraction. So the main cause of retraction wasn't just mistakes that these writers did. It was misconduct, like plagiarism, like fake data, bad data, and so forth. And this is one of the references that we've used. Another one that I just mentioned. Okay, so in case of research innovation, what makes this research unique from previous research? One is, sorry about that. We've analyzed citation networks. Previous research haven't done this. And we also looked at a factor, a variable called self-citation. How many times a writer with a retracted article cites another retracted article of his or hers. We've also categorized the retraction reasons to simplify our understanding of why these articles are being retracted. And we've also calculated another variable called retraction rate, which we'll talk about in later slides. And we have some recommendations for ethical practices and how we can avoid your articles being retracted, hopefully. Well, our methodology was we used a retraction data watch, which is a centralized data watch which started working at around 2010. They started actively monitoring retracted articles. They have articles that date prior to 2010 and is still indexed at Retraction Watch. We downloaded data at February 6, 2025. It's important to note this because Retraction Watch is constantly being updated. And you can read the text here, or we can just look at this pipeline. We started downloading from Retraction Watch dataset, which gave us around 60,000 retracted articles. We filtered country when we set the country of affiliation to Iran, then our data set size reduced to 1692, and then we filtered by subject: computer science, data science, and electrical engineering. Our final data set has a size of 169. It's important to note that we didn't just get retracted articles info just from Retraction Watch. We also used OpenAlex with two methods to get the citation data. So we want to understand how these retracted articles are interacting with each other and interacting with other articles that are not necessarily retracted. We had two ways. One of them is just using Bus Viewer, which is an application. It doesn't need coding. You just enter the list of DOIs, and you can get the citation information based on that. Another solution is using PyAlex, which is a Python wrapper for OpenAlex. It needs a little bit of coding, but it's not that complicated. PyAlex gives us a lot more information compared to Bus Viewer. And we also did some modularity gain analysis in Gephi to make sure that we don't have any communities. See if our articles are just lone islands or they're intertwined with each other. This is a summary of our work. 169 retracted papers, 162 were successfully retrieved via Bus Viewer. We couldn't get all of them, 169. 166 was retrieved via PyAlex. Gave us more information about the citation data. When we created a citation network, which is basically each node is an article and the edges are the citation information or citation relationship between these articles or nodes, we constructed a network that has 1694 nodes, which obviously includes 166 retracted articles, and the rest are articles that are not retracted, but our retracted articles reference those. We also did community detection to find if there are any important clusters. Well, this is, and the resolution isn't too great, this is our Bus Viewer result. The node size represents the citation that these articles have received. These are our 162 retracted articles, and we can see we have one specific community here, which we'll talk about later, and we have a huge node here, which is an article that was retracted, but unfortunately received over 100 citations. We measured our retractions from 2008 and to 2024. Peak year was 2020. Let me show you the graph. Here's the graph for number of retraction per year. We had an increase at the year 2010 and all-time peak at 2020 with 24 retractions at that year. We also looked at publishers to see what's the share of these publishers among retracted papers, which publishers have the most retracted papers. And we found that Springwood has 43%, IEEE 16.6%, and Elsevier 14.8%, which we can see in this pie chart over here. That most of the share goes to Springer, and then IEEE, and then Elsevier. Publication span, meaning the data publication for these articles that we have in our data set, is from 2007 to 2023, and retraction span is 2008 to 2024. This is just for clarification purposes. We also have another important variable, which is called time lag. Time lag means I want to say the distance. The time between an article being published and when it's retracted. We want to minimize this time lag. We want articles to be retracted immediately if it's possible. This is the definition of time lag, and we found that the longest average delay was 7.16 years in the year 2021, which is this graph. Just to explain this graph, for example, at the year 2010, we looked at all the articles that were retracted at this year, and we calculated time lag for each one of them, and we calculated an average. And this is the average of that process. And we can see there's an all-time peak at 2021. And this is kind of to be expected because we have a smaller sample size, and an article that was notorious for being retracted super late was retracted at 2021. That's why we have that all-time peak there. And obviously we want to retract our articles in a timely manner to avoid further damages to scientific progress and discourse. As said earlier, we have multiple reasons for each article's retraction. We observed 51 unique retraction reasons, and we categorize them into 3 categories: deliberate misconduct, honest error / oversight, administrative or procedural errors. And we found out that, unfortunately, deliberate misconduct was the dominant cause of retractions. We can see this in this washout graph here. Deliberate misconduct is in brown, honest error / oversight is light blue, and administrative / procedural is in dark blue. And you can also see it in this picture, but we've also made sure that the dominant cause was deliberate misconduct. Top individual reasons for why we had these articles retracted in computer science community. Number 1 is duplication of article with 42 occurrences. Number 2 is fake peer review with 41 occurrences. And number 3 was investigation by journal / publisher with 36 occurrences. And it's noteworthy that each article could have multiple retraction reasons. This is also a detailed breakdown of retraction reasons. We have the 18 top retraction reasons, and the rest is labeled as others. Put one down there. And you can look at this later if you want. Another concerning problem among retracted articles was self-citation. Authors that cite their own retracted work, which is problematic because it inflates the reach of that article. We know that article is flawed and it shouldn't stay much longer in circulation, but self-citation could prolong this article's lifespan. We found that 17 authors engaged in self-citation. Among these 17, we had an egregious amount of self-citation with 2 co-authors, which engaged in self-citation 9 times. And I've also mentioned that self-citation is an unethical practice that reinforces flawed work. But self-citation among retracted works, you can cite your own work. That's not necessarily a problem. But when you have a retracted article and you're referencing your other retracted article, that's when it becomes a problem. I'm not sure if you can see the lines here, but yes. These are the edges. This is one of the authors. We've redacted his name for privacy reasons, and he just has an ID. This author had 6 articles that all of them were retracted, and each of these articles referenced another one of his retracted articles. We found that this person with his co-author engaged in self-citation nine times, unfortunately. VOSViewer is a super useful tool. You don't need coding to do anything, and we can see one of the proofs here. If you give the DOI of your articles, your selected articles, you can do a bunch of analysis here. We did one, for example, which is co-occurrence of concepts, which is basically a word cloud. We wanted to see what are the most repeated words among these retracted articles. And we found out that AI, machine learning, data mining, artificial neural network were among the highest causes. Unfortunately, I can zoom here, but you probably can. Can they use this PowerPoint later? Do they have access to it?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. You can download the picture and you look at it for yourself. We're almost there. I know you're hungry for lunch, but we're almost done. We calculated another variable called retraction rate, which is basically number of retracted papers in fields of data science, computer science, and electrical engineering divided by all the papers that were published in that country. And we call that variable retraction rate. And before we get there, it's noteworthy that Iran ranks 6th in total retractions. So we're talking absolute numbers here. But when it comes to retraction rate, the retraction rate of Iran is 0.019%, and it puts it at 45th position globally, which is kind of a mixed bag. We're lower than India and China. We want retraction rate to be lower. Lower is better, but we still have a higher retraction rate than United States or say Germany. This is the formula for retraction rate, number of retracted articles in those three fields, divided by total published articles by country. Besides China and India, which are big players in producing research papers, we found that Iran is also has a lower retraction rate compared to its regional peers, like Saudi Arabia, like Iraq, like Qatar, like Azerbaijan. Which, again, it's a mixed bag. It's not a bad position, it's not necessarily a good position either. As for our discussion, sorry, let me take a look at my cheat sheet. Obviously, having retracted articles, having flawed research circulating our scientific discourse, it's toxic, it's not good. We need to find a way to minimize the time lag between publication and retraction. We know that self-citation artificially boosts an article reputation, so an article might not be that good, but using self-citation, they could cheat their way with their H-index or other factors. Fortunately, when we look at the citation network, which each node was an article and the edges were citation relationship, we found that most of the articles were isolated islands. They weren't necessarily communicating with each other, giving each other citation. We just found that there were multiple self-citation, and beside that, most retracted articles were isolated and they weren't engaged in a certain echo chamber with other retracted and flawed research. And we also need to understand something. With scientific community, we need strong laws, we need good systems, but these are not enough. The most important thing that we need are good faith actors, good faith people. If people engage in bad faith, they can broke any law, they can broke any good system, no matter how strong the laws are, or no matter how strong our system is. And our final slide in conclusion, and we can have our lunch, is that we need some sort of detection systems. We need them to be faster. I don't think we have those in Iran. I haven't seen one. We need a centralized database like Retraction Watch. We don't have a localized version of that. We don't have a domestic version of that. There only exists one Retraction Watch database, and it's not localized, unfortunately. We also need further research on institutional and journal level factors to see how these journals or institutions are impacting these retracted articles. Are they encouraging it? Are they making it a taboo subject as it should be, or not? And in the end, we should all, as the scientific community, encourage ethical practices that lead to better papers, better outcomes, and hopefully a better future. Thank you so much.
خیلی متشکرم. سوالا رو میشه به فارسی پرسید؟ شما زبان انگلیسی زبان مادریتون بوده؟
نه.
خیلی متشکرم. دوستان اگه سوالی دارن طرح بکنن. اما درست نشونه. این بفهمم.
اسلاید 13 جایگاه ایران رو من متوجه نشدم.
اسلاید جا نشد، مجبور شدم دو قسمتش کنم. هرچی ریترکشن ریت بالاتر باشه بدتر، هرچی میاییم پایینتر این ریترکشن ریت بهتره، یعنی عدد پایینتر بهتره. و میبینیم این جایگاه اول و این کشور داره، جایگاه 45م هم ایران اینجا داره.
این ادامه اونه.
بله این ادامه اونه، چون جا نشد مجبور شدم اینو دو تاش کنم و میخواستم اون فرمولم بیارم.
خیلی.
این ریترکشن واچ زیر نظر کیه این تشکیلاتش؟
نمیدونم، یه مؤسسه بود.
این داده های ایران توش نیست که میگید ما نسخه بومیشو نداریم؟
نه، داده های ایران توش هست، ولی اون بر اساس اینه که اون ژورنال ها خودشون اینو اعلام کنن، بگن که این مقاله ما ریترکت شده، یعنی بر اساس سلف ریپورت کار میکنن. اگه مقاله یه جای ریترکت شده باشه ولی اون ژورنال هیچی نگه، یا یه ژورنال داخلی باشه که خیلی اینترنشنال نیست، ممکنه توی ریترکشن واچ ثبت نشه. و اگه یه دیتاست سنترالایزد داخلی داشته باشیم، میتونه به بحث اخلاقیات و بحث اتیک توی ریسرچ تو ایران به نظر من خیلی کمک کنه.
خیلی من میدونید که SID حامی همایشه.
بله.
پایگاه SID بعد این صحبت کنید، نماینده های SID اگه اینجا هستن یا نیستن، چون دفترش هم همین روبروه، تعاملی بگیرید و من دیگه سوالا رو بعداً ازتون میپرسم، چون همه خسته از اینکه صبر و حوصله کردید و تا الان اینجا حضور داشتید. خیلی
بفرمایید.
اول می‌خواستم رو رشته‌تون چیه شما؟
من مهندسی کامپیوتر.
بعد با چه پرابلمی سراغ این موضوع رفتید؟ چه انگیزه یا چه راه حلی یا چه چیزی باعث شده که به سمت این موضوع برید؟
من یه مقاله دیدم در مورد ریترکشن ها توی بحث مولکولر بایو، نمیدونم یه چیزی بود، بایو مدیسن اگه اشتباه نکنم. اون توی اون حوزه خیلی کار شده، توی مدیسن و توی بحث پزشکی و اینا خیلی کار شده، ولی توی حوزه دیتا ساینس و کامپیوتر ساینس و اینا خیلی کار نشده بود. واسه همین من یه ریسرچ گپ دیدم، واسه همین ریسرچ گپ یکم پر بشه.
بعد نتیجه‌ای هم گرفتید؟ یعنی پیشنهادی هم دارید برای این اساس؟ شما مثلا بعضی از حوزه‌ها رو بول کرده که توی این حوزه‌ها بیشتر ریترکت شدن. توصیه‌ای هم دارید یا دلیلی
پیشنهاد این بود که ما یه دیتاست سنترالایزد توی ایران داشته باشیم واسه اینکه این آرتیکل‌ها یا مقاله‌ای که ریترکت شدن رو بهتر پیگیری کنیم. بحث بعدیش اینه که ما
بومی میگن، یه سیستم بومی.
من باید ریشه یابی بشه. یعنی چیزی که شما دارید میگید درمانه، یعنی یه چیزی رفت ریترکت شد، بعد ما حالا بگیم ببینیم چرا به نظر من باید سراغ این باید بریم که چرا اصلا چنین اتفاقی میفته و چرا این موضوع اتفاق میفته.
حالا دلایل مختلفی داره.
مهمتر از اینه که شما فکر بکنید حالا اینا ریترکت شدن، ما دارم میگم بعد مثلا 15 سال برام اینا مواد 20 سال پیش ریترکت شد.
اصلا یکی از دلایلش میتونه پیر ریویو فیک باشه. دلیل دیگه هم میتونه این باشه که مثلا یه دیتایی دارن ولی دیتاشون خوب نیست. لزوما آدم بدی نیستن، لزوما قصد بدی ندارن، ولی دیتاشون خوب نیست. واسه همین مقالهشون ریترکت میشه. و این یه مشکلی که اون ژورنال نباید اون مقاله رو
تشویق بکنید. بازم از صبر رو خیلی متشکرم. از صبر و حوصله‌ای که